September 22nd, Douglas County Board of County Commissioners Business Meeting. We want to welcome those of you who have joined us here in the courthouse, as well as those of you who have joined us online. I just want to pass on a bit of information about how we're going to run our hybrid meeting this evening. We do have a sign-up sheet for those of you who are with us in the courthouse. If you wish to give public comment, please be sure to get your name onto the sign-up sheet. For those of you who are joining us online, please use the raise your hand function when it comes time for public comment, and we'll move you into the meeting. We do ask that everyone keep their public comments to 3 minutes. Here in the courthouse, we will have signs telling you when you have 1 minute, 30 seconds when you're out of time. We will turn off the microphone for folks going over 3 minutes. Three minutes. The county does reserve the right to also shut off the microphone and remove any speaker from the meeting if they are vulgar, rude, or inappropriate. We will start our meeting this evening with our consent agenda. Would either of the commissioners like to pull anything from the consent agenda?
No.
No. Would anyone joining us in the courthouse or online like to pull any item from the consent agenda? Okay.
This is Commissioner Reed. I move to approve today's consent agenda items 1.1 through 1.5.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
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 We will open it up for general public comment. This is not public comment on the public health orders agenda item, but just for general public comment. Before giving public comment, please state your name and address for the minutes.
And Paul, if you could push the little button on the microphone there. Yep, push the little button until it turns green. There you go.
Well, I'm Paul Baumeier, and I'm representing the 500 residents of Stall Cemetery, my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, and another grandmother on my mother's side of the family. And our tombstone has been vandalized twice in the past years. These individuals were buried in solemn, religious, sometimes military ceremonies. I want to show you a photo taken of the members of the Deer Creek German Church in 1922. And I ask you, do you think these are devil worshipers? Many of these early settlers spent considerable blood and sweat and tears to help make Douglas County what it is today. Future burials will be of people who contribute to the present day life and pay taxes in the county. I ask you, where is their social justice and equity? Everyone in this room knows the cemetery being haunted is a false statement. Yet Explore Lawrence, Downtown Lawrence Association, Lawrence Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Lawrence say there is nothing they can do. I am sure that many of the just mentioned organizations and government departments were contacted, and it was mentioned that the Masonic Temple event would be called Stall Haunted House. I would think the religious community would be concerned with the desecration of this sacred ground. Historians are charged with recording history accurately. Are there any Douglas County historians who will stand here and support the haunted cemetery as true? Douglas County historians who will support the haunted house as true are not to be found, I don't believe. Haunted houses are fun, entertaining, and apparently make a considerable amount of money. This is all about money, with no regards to the respect of the cemetery and the Douglas County sister community of Stall. I would ask you for a proclamation strongly stating that using the name Stall Haunted House and Gateway to Hell for the upcoming event is totally inappropriate and an insult to the people of the Stall community, living and deceased. I wonder if those who are sponsoring this ever contacted the Stall Cemetery Board or the Kanwaka Townships. And I call your attention that the county has always been very good in the last 50 years of patrolling the cemetery for 2 days. Now, this organization is promoting it as a great thing for the Midwest. So is the county going to sponsor is the sheriff going to patrol this cemetery 360 days out of the year? Stall has tolerated this for 50 years, but this is a step too far. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else for general public comment? Okay, we will move on to our regular agenda, starting with agenda item 3.1, consider an extension of emergency health of the local health order. Sarah?
Thank you, Commissioners. Dan Partridge, Director of the Lawrence Douglas County Public Health Department is here. In addition, I think there are some folks online, health officers and legal counsel for the health department. Dan is going to run the presentation. Let me know if you need help, Dan.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioners, for bringing this back up for consideration today. We've recommending to you the continuation of the public health order for the mask mandate for ages 2 to 11. And the extension recommendations are either December 1st or December 22nd. And I'll run through 4 slides that kind of give us a kind of a general feel of the nature of coronavirus in our community and stand for questions. And I believe Dr. Scrimshire, our Deputy Health Officer, and Dr. Marcelino, our Health Officer, are online and available also for questions. Okay. There we go. This is statistics that we go through and look at pretty much multiple times each week. And I pulled out the summer of 2021 to kind of give us a baseline of where we're at. That first line is our cumulative case count. And you see that in June 3rd of this year, we were at 9,362. And today we're sitting at a little over 11,600. In that's a 15% growth and roughly 15% of the pandemic's time here so far. So how I interpret that is the disease is not abating. It's not going down or up. You know, in the grand aggregate look at it, it's continuing to be always where it's been. That 14-day rolling average is our measure that talk about kind of that short-term temporal variations that we see. And you can see we started the summer at 17 and we're now twice that at 35. Last Friday, we were actually over 40 and we're meeting to consider, you know, what are our next steps when we hit that 50 threshold, which we've come here to talk to you about in the past, about that being a trigger for further considerations. Since then, we've seen several reports where that number is going down. And so we're hopeful that that trend will continue. It's a short trend, but it's been consistent. Our active case count is 771, which again is similar to where we were at the beginning of the month, but considerably higher than when we started the summer. 10 deaths over the summer and 94 deaths. If you think about the number of deaths we naturally experience in our community over that time, just in a rough sense, that's 1 out of 20 deaths related to COVID. So it's not insignificant, and it's not something that, you know, I don't think we should try to marginalize it. One of our primary goals in trying to respond to coronavirus throughout this pandemic has been to maintain and preserve our healthcare capacity. And you see that we started the summer in really great shape. There were 0 hospitalizations. And we've been at 15, 16, 17 for probably a month now. And I would say that is stressing our healthcare system. When you look into some of the other statistics, not only locally, but regionally, services are being impaired, and other non-COVID related, non-emergency related services are being deferred because of the stress on the system through COVID. We do a fair amount of testing in our community, and our percent positivity rate took a spike at over 4%, approaching 5%. And it's again, similar to our active case count trending downwards. And you see that we're doing about over 4,000 tests in a 14-day rolling count. And so that's a robust number, much higher than the 1,160 that we started the year with, or summer with. And the bottom number there is just when you look at all that and we try to put that into our community scale, we continue to be in yellow. This is the epi curve that we also push out, and I put this in there to give you the detail beyond the. So this is the day-by-day journey through the COVID pandemic of what our case counts have been. And you see a couple of lines, hopefully they show up on your screen, where a red and a yellow line. And these are the lines that I put on there for reference of the metrics that we use to determine whether we're in green, yellow, or red are represented in that. So if you're above yellow but below red, that's yellow. If we get above that red line, we would say we're in red. Below the yellow line, green. And so you can see for the past several weeks, we have been in yellow, and you can see some of that trend downwards here recently. And so that is encouraging for us as well. So the numbers that set those lines are an active case count of either 25 for yellow or 50 for red, and an active case count of either 500 or 1,000 respectively. Also wanted to talk very briefly about where is COVID in our community. And so these are case rates across the pandemic for each community, and the rates are per 1,000 population. And so you can see that Lecompton, Baldwin City, and Eudora all have higher rates of coronavirus than Douglas County as a whole. And Lawrence is, pretty close to Douglas County, which just based on numbers is to be expected. But you can see there is a significant difference between Lawrence and other communities. And then lastly, there's also been questions about, well, with Delta, has this disease trended younger? And so what you see here is a graph where each 30 days, each month of time is measured on its own. So it's not a, a cumulative kind of analysis. And so what you see is really there's been some variation, but the average age for all cases is the blue line, and it kind of trends a little up and down, but between probably 29 and 40 average age, and then the median kind of trends along with it. And so it's been one of the more consistent measures of all of the things that we're tracking. And I would say the takeaway from there is it's a disease of all ages. And so the distribution kind of puts us in the middle. And so that is the kind of background I wanted to present, and I'll stop sharing the screen and stand for questions, or if Dr. Marcelino or Dr. Scrimshire would like to add anything at this point. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. That was a good synopsis. I apologize. I'm in the car, not driving though. This is Dr. Marcelino. I think that one thing I would just like to say is that, when we initiated this order, we wanted to serve the purpose to, keep our children in school. And I think we've seen that kind of around other areas where different school districts have had to shut down due to COVID outbreaks. And I think what we've done here in Douglas County is we've curtailed the spread by utilizing this important measure. And it's enabled our schools to stay open. We've had some struggles with quarantine and isolation and different things like that, but for the most part, I think this has been an effective measure. And that's why we're coming to you today, because COVID is still present at an instance that we can't sustain without this continued protective measure. So we feel like it's still necessary at this time. We are hopeful with the approval of the vaccine for age 5 to 12 that we can get those kids protected, and we're still not sure exactly when that will occur, but this order does allow the flexibility that if we were to see drastic improvement or see numbers that decline to the point where the order is no longer necessary, we can make that adjustment if needed. Dr. Scrimshire, I don't know if you have anything to add as well.
I wish I had the actual number in front of me, but I think all of the age range for cases has been fairly consistent. I believe that our average age for those hospitalized has actually decreased. That's a direct reflection of the percentage of the population that's been vaccinated by age group. The older groups have been much more the higher rates of vaccination than the younger groups. So I can probably get it for you by tomorrow or something if you want it, but I do believe that those that are actually hospitalized have been younger than previous surges.
Thank you all for that presentation. This is Commissioner Portillo. I think my one question really has to go to our attorney, Brad. We have 2 orders in front of us, and I think that the goal is really to make sure that we can keep kids in school. So the order that would be the longer order would potentially get us all the way through kids going to winter break in all of our surrounding school districts. It is on December 22nd that it may expire. If it were to expire, we don't have to necessarily have a meeting that day. It could just potentially expire on that date, correct?
Correct. It will automatically expire that date unless it's extended. So you would not have to have a meeting on that date to extend it. To cancel it. You would just cancel.
Thank you. I'll open it up to questions from fellow commissioners. Do you have any questions?
This question is for Dr. Marcelino, Dr. Scrimshire. We did have some communication from a member of the community wanting to confirm that we think that masking is appropriate, or your recommendation is masking is still appropriate for recreation and when indoor spaces. Is that correct?
This is Scrimshire. My personal verbiage has been indoor spaces, outdoor crowded public spaces, and then it's written in about any singing, shouting, heavy breathing. So that would be recreational activities if you're around someone else.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to open this up for public comment. I have a list of folks who have signed up here in the courthouse for public comment. If we have anyone who would like to make public comment and hasn't signed up, please come to the front of the room. We'll go in the order that folks have signed up for public comment here with us in the courthouse. Then we'll transition to public comment online. If you'd like to make a public comment and you're joining us via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function. Again, please state your name when you start your public comment. Everyone will have 3 minutes. Sarah will hold up a 1 minute, a 30-second, and when you've run out of time, we will plan on turning the microphone off when you've gone over your 3 minutes. We will start with Eric Schmidt. Would like to come forward?
Uh, 453 Eldridge Street, that's the address. I wanted to let you know that less than 3 months ago, the Centers for Disease Control published a mostly ignored large-scale study of COVID-19 transmission in U.S. schools, which concluded that while masking then unvaccinated teachers and improving ventilation, was associated with lower levels of virus transmission in schools. Social distancing, classroom barriers, HEPA filters, and forcing students to wear masks did not result in a statistically significant benefit. That a masking requirement of students failed to show independent benefit is a finding of consequence and great interest, according to Vinay Prasad, an associate professor in University of California, San Francisco's Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. It should have been included in the summary. There was no statistical evidence that wearing a mask in school showed any benefit at all. And according to Benjamin Linus, professor of medicine at Boston University, the Delta variant is more infectious, but it's not a whole new game. The variant's high transmissibility has pushed up case counts among children, but serious illness among young people remains vanishingly rare. He said, citing case fatality rate of 0.00003 for those under the age of 20. It's a useless exercise to abuse kids by making them wear masks. This underlining reality that kids are far less risk of severe COVID-19 than adults remains true, even with the Delta. And yes, the Center for Disease Control has been pushing for the advice of the teachers' unions to mask the school kids, but the World Health Organization says under 6 years old shouldn't mask. Crucially, most of Europe doesn't require it, and it hasn't been a problem. Spain, France, and Italy don't require 5 and unders to mask. Britain has done away with masks in school entirely. And masking has been terrible for many of the kids. They're still at a stage of growth where seeing faces and expressions is vital to developing cognitive and social skills. So we're finding out that masks are actually inhibiting education. The younger kids need that visual formation of words from the face. Dr. Fauci wrote in an email, "I do not recommend that you wear a mask." He just stated this in February 2020. He's gone back and forth. Democratic Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has agreed to language that bans health officials from enforcing mask mandates in schools.
Thank you. We are going to go on to the next speaker, Linda Campbell. Linda Campbell, if you'd like to make public comment. Linda Campbell.
Blind obedience is leading this country to a place where we will lose all our freedom. It is human nature to look for a leader to save us, but we must stop looking for a leader and be a leader. The correct order in this world is God who created man, man who formed society, and last, society forming a government. Right now, it feels like we are precisely upside down, and the government is being on top of the order. How do we fix this? By reminding ourselves that government has a single purpose. That purpose is to secure our natural right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By reminding ourselves that we, the people, are the rulers over the government. Do not let the government be the ruler. County commissioners who ignore the people and trample on the rights of their constituents are not within the proper role of government. How do we fix this? By reminding ourselves the power of one. We need to reach out to others and say, no more. I will not comply. We are duty bound to call for peaceful non-compliance of unconstitutional acts. What do you want for your children? A government that owns them? The government does not own my body. We have a chance to fight, but every time we comply, we establish a future where our children will not have any option. The greatest power we have is peaceful non-compliance. No more. I will not comply.
Elizabeth Alvarez.
My name is Elizabeth Alvarez, and I'm a Douglas County resident. I don't know why we're here again. If this gentleman's numbers are correct, your masks didn't work the last 30 days. Why are they going to work for the next 30 or 60, whatever you guys are trying to do? I have friends, many friends in the education field. Thank God I don't send my kids to school. In a couple of the schools, they don't comply. Like, whatever. It's quite interesting because they really don't care what you say. And one of the teachers, who's a dear friend of mine, said, you know, it's funny. Out of all the students, I have 3 that wear a mask every day. And those 3 tested positive for COVID, but none of the non-mask wearers tested positive. She just sent me that today. I thought, quite interesting. It's very, very clear. Masks do not stop viruses. They don't. In the early 1900s, we had a pandemic and everybody's putting masks on. And then there was this whole grassroots group of people standing up, meeting in the alleys saying, we're not wearing masks anymore. And they eventually quit wearing masks. And over this time, if you go to the Lancet, the New England Journal of Medicine, any of these, you will see study after study that they have done over all these years on masks. They don't stop viruses. It's ridiculous that we're even talking about this in 2021. You sit here in a mask even now. It's pathetic. Take it off, breathe. Let us see who you really are. Putting children in masks is cruel. It is abuse. It is wrong. I don't understand how you guys cannot see that. I will never put a mask on my kids. I will never comply. You guys are acting like tyrants. It's ridiculous. Stop. Just stop. Have some humility and admit you're wrong and stop.
We'll move on to Linda Weinmaster. Linda.
Hi, my name is Linda Weinmaster. I live at 321 Stone Ridge Court. Some statistics that are kind of missing with this group. The CDC reported that 214 children died in 2021 from COVID. What we're not looking at is some statistics like Chicago. 261 children have been shot in the same time period, 41 dead. What are we doing? This is nationwide number, 214 kids according to CDC. That's 99.99815%. Interfering with a child's breathing is child abuse. I fear the division by those who want to control and want oppression of health choices. Some people feel the personal choice of others is selfish and needs to be regulated. But really is selfish is expecting others to surrender their liberties for their false sense of security. The overreach of government has caused segregation, discrimination, second-class citizens, and neighbors who were once friends now fight. This is political and it needs to stop. The data on mask mandates does not support the continuation. Even UNICEF says that children under 5 should never be put in a mask. Masks do not stop aerosols, but if you want to wear a mask, I don't care, go ahead, wear your mask. The virus is not going away, but the overreach of government must. COVID is more like a common cold than smallpox. I asked the commissioners for data that supports the mandate of masks for 2 to 11-year-old children. Where are your baseline surveys? I was told to go watch the meetings. That means there is zero data to support the child abuse and fear you have placed in our children. That is why I sent you a 133-page analysis of scientific data on masks. Why wearing a mask makes healthy people sick, and evidence-based analysis of why masks are ineffective, unnecessary, and harmful. How about we tell the people who believe the fear-inducing propaganda to stay home, and the rest of us just go back to living before we have nothing to live for. The science is changing daily. Recent studies show COVID vax does not protect against getting the virus. So what are we doing? If you get the vax, you have a 1,300% chance of getting sicker than the unvaccinated or those that have natural immunity. The longer the restrictions drag on, the more illogical mandates, the more important the fight becomes. I don't want to fight. I want to live freely as we once did, but no longer can we say we are the freest nation, not without the powers that you're putting on us. It is usually futile to try to talk facts and analysis to people who are enjoying a sense of moral
We're
superiority.
going to move to Justin
their-
Spiels. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's it?
My name is Justin Spies. Wonder why that cut out. The question we need to ask ourselves is, when you watch that video, do you think that this is or is not child abuse? And the thing is, these people up here, these commissioners, they're gonna look at this and they're either gonna say, yes, it's child abuse and still vote for the mask mandate, or they're gonna say, no, it's not child abuse and still vote for the mask mandate. They're voting to put child abuse in place. They're evil. They're sick. There's 3 of them right here. 2 of them don't even have children. So they're going to sit up there and tell us as parents what we need to do with our own kids. Where are the dads? Where are the dads? We're supposed to be protecting our children. Just think how many Masons there are across the country, or that there will be because of policies like this. And if you think that it can't happen to you, well, I don't know what to tell you. It can. Your child could be Mason. And you're going to allow people that don't even have children to tell you that your child needs to be put in that situation. And Marcelino, what business does a grown man have wanting to put a 2-year-old in a mask? Sick. It's sick. And answer my emails. Those are serious questions. Those are serious questions. The zeitgeist always moves. This is child abuse, and you're voting for that. You will vote unanimously for it, and it's disgusting. And the zeitgeist always moves.
Sue?
I'm Sue Herrick. I'm at 5225 Harvard Road here in Lawrence. Tonight, I'm here to talk to you about some thinking points. Mason's picture is here on my right. People talk about talking points all the time, but so much gets said with so little thought, especially by the people here on my left, who remain in lockstep with others in government, motivated by power and more power. A new tack may help us move forward. I want to ask you to consider what you would have done if you were a Kansan in the Civil War era. Would you have been part of the anti-slavery sentiment centered here in Lawrence? Would you have helped the Underground Railroad? Would you have recognized the encroachment of tyranny from Missouri? How could it be more ironic that Douglas County today is as locked down as it once was, the icon for freedom? Do any of you stand for freedom today, or have you forgotten what runs in our veins here? The words free state are all over our county, but we allow the tyrants here to limit our freedoms in the name of fear. What would your actions have been if you had been in Germany in the late 30s? Would you have stood by and watched while a government imposed tyranny bit by bit until it resulted in mass murder? Would you have been as silent then as you are now? Which leads to the question of where you are today. Are you pro-freedom or pro-suppression? Bit by bit, our liberties are being taken, which you tolerate more and more. But now the freedoms of the voiceless are being taken, those of our children and our grandchildren. Bad enough that you don't recognize oppression for yourself, but can you be shocked into seeing oppression by government ruining our children? If these critical thinking points stir anything in you that has been gnawing away, and if that gnawing is growing, please take action. Please get on your feet, come to the corner of McDonald Road in front of the school administration building. Join a group of people, true Americans, who raise their voices in opposition to tyranny by this county government and school board. We are there every day, beginning around 3 weekdays. The response of our presence is overwhelmingly positive. Think of us as the stand for freedom. You'll find it therapeutic in these muddled times, and we'll welcome you with open arms and hearts.
Joe?
My name is Joe Herrick. 70 years ago, Nazi Germany exterminated 6 million Jews. However, history forgets that there were 1 million complacent Germans that worked in the concentration camp and did nothing to stop the exterminations. In 1947, the Nuremberg trial convicted the complicit along with the Nazi war criminals. Today, I see an eerie similarity in which we are once again in a global war involving all nations. This war is between good and evil. Evil is committing crimes against humanity. Nuremberg trial number 2 was initiated the first week of July 2021. The defendants are the WHO, CDC, and the World Economic Forum. Evil is comprised of psychopaths who have no respect for humanity. Fear has driven millions to an injection site in order to take part in a human trial. There are currently no FDA-approved vaccines. All vaccines are EUA. EUA vaccines cannot be mandated because they are experimental. The bioweapon SARS-CoV-2 was not naturally occurring virus. It was created in a lab. This man-made virus is the virus that causes COVID-19. The virus has never been isolated, yet we have a pandemic. Hello. September the 7th, 2020, there were 0 Americans vaccinated with 25,166 active COVID cases. 1 year later, 177 million Americans have been vaccinated with 301,138 active COVID cases. In Israel, 85 to 90% of seriously ill patients are fully vaccinated. September the 13th, 2021, the most populous state in India, over 200 million. They have 175 active cases. India provided each citizen with a COVID kit that cost $2.65 each. Each kit contained ivermectin, a wonder drug that won a Nobel Prize for medicine 15 years ago. Our CDC has banned prophylactic drugs, ivermectin, and hydrochloroquine that could have saved over 500,000 American lives. Wake up. In closing, mandates
So
are
we're
not
going to move
laws,
on
they
to
are
Sarah Steinbach. Thank you. We're going to move on to Sarah Steinbach now.
all we ask is you follow the law.
Hi, my name is Sarah Steinbach. I'm located on 2702 Rawhide Lane here in Lawrence. And I just want to start off by saying, are any of you guys parents? Just think about that because I have a few questions I want to ask. What gives you the right to make choices about our children? Do you feed them at night? Do you clothe them? Do you make sure they have a roof under them? No? So what gives you the choice to make choices about our children? As a parent, as myself, I am responsible for my child. And all I know is will not be masking him up. So all I just want to ask is let it be the parent's choice. My second thing I want to say is last time we all came here, there was 80 individuals here. And then we had someone on this committee post on her Facebook that they were most white individuals. I just want to say that I'm not 100% white. I'm part Native American. As you can see, there are not all white people in here. Just because we may not agree doesn't mean that we're racist. We all believe the same. We have our own opinion. And you know what? We may not agree, but you know, at the end of the day, we're all human. Thank you.
Susan Carey.
Good evening. My name is Susan Carey, 409 Casa Bonita. I am a teacher, have been since 1991. Pediatric mask wearing has been found to have discernible effects on fear, anxiety, language development, physical abnormalities, and further unknown effects. Some children appear fine wearing a mask, but others struggle. Those who have myopia can have trouble seeing because the mask fogs their glasses. Masks can cause severe acne and other skin problems. The discomfort of a mask distracts many kids from learning. By increasing airway resistance during exhalation, masks can lead to increased levels of carbon dioxide in the blood. And masks can be vectors for pathogens if they become moist or are used for too long. Therefore, face masks become non-consequential and do not function after 20 minutes due to saturation. How long have you been wearing yours today? Masks are only effective so long as they are dry, says Professor Cossart, Department of Infectious Diseases at the University of Sydney. As soon as the masks become saturated with moisture in your breath, they stop doing their job and pass on the droplets. In a similar light, there are indications that wearing a mask that has already been used, which is very common, as you probably know, is riskier than if kids wore no mask at all. The evidence on mask mandates is also clear in that they are ineffective and do not work to prevent the spread of respiratory viruses like SARS-CoV-2. In February 2021, the CDC reported that masking may impede breathing, which can trigger a variety of other problems, including acute anxiety attacks in susceptible individuals. These harms are even more likely to occur to children, particularly small children. Ireland's Department of Health announced in March 2021 that it won't require masks in schools because they may exacerbate anxiety or breathing difficulties for some students. Some children compensate for such difficulties by breathing through their mouths. Chronic and prolonged mouth breathing can alter facial development. It is well documented that children who mouth breathe because adenoids block their nasal airways can develop a mouth deformity and elongated face. The possible psychological harm of widespread masking is even a greater worry. Facial expressions are integral to human connection, particularly for young children who are only learning how to signal fear, confusion, and happiness. Covering a child's face mutes these nonverbal forms of communication and can result in robotic and emotionless interactions, anxiety, and depression. Seeing people speak is a building block of phonetic development. It is especially important with children with disabilities such as hearing impairment. Forcing children to make personal health and developmental sacrifices for the sake of adults is abusive. School-age kids don't have a lobby and they are too young.
Carrie Wallace. Is Carrie Wallace present and wanting to make comment?
And while folks are coming up, if you want to speak in public comment, you please sign up here. There's a sign up sheet there.
All right. Carrie Wallace, 601 Church Street in Eudora. Not a public speaker, but this issue has pushed me so hard. Local health officers are recommending masking children on the basis of cases, which are not very high right now. They're not recommending masks based on science of the efficacy and safety of masks. Why not? Why would that be? It's because there is no evidence, no randomized control trial. None whatsoever, none that I've found, and I am a researcher. My goodness, I spend so much time researching and I have not yet found any evidence that masks are safe or effective. But we all know how you're going to vote. It's no secret. It's a done deal. We know. When I see a child walking alone, masked outside, I wonder, what are we doing? What's happening to these children? What's happening to the next generation? But I understand you don't see any issues there. They're safe, right? They're being safe. I think the question you all should ask yourselves is, does this make sense? And is this scientifically valid? We have not seen any science presented in favor of masks. And I mean, what's happening in gym class? I guess the children are masked through that. How about lunch? Are they taking off their masks and screaming and eating and talking and breathing on each other and then going right back into masks? And it's all the same, right? Safety. I think instead of canceling those who call out this child abuse, you should cancel your eyes and ears. There is not evidence that these masks do anything at all. What, you think a piece of paper or a piece of fabric is going to protect against the deadliest disease ever known to man? My goodness, we've gone a bridge too far here.
Thank you. We're going to move on to Rachel Wallace, Rachel Price, sorry. Sir Rachel Price.
Hi. I've been here enough times that I'm really tired of coming back. There's a lot of things that I'd much rather be doing. And so I really don't have much to say because they've all said it. They've all given you the science. We've done this repeatedly. I guess I just want to talk to you about the fact that you are our elected representatives. And representatives means you represent the people, not just the ones that you agree with and not just the ones you like. So coming here repeatedly feels like an exercise in futility. And your reception to those who oppose masks was made clear with you, Shannon's Facebook post the day after our last hearing, where you dismissed us as the vocal minority. Just right out of hand, those who oppose you are naturally the vocal minority. I want to tell you, if you keep this up, that's not going to be the case much longer because we are growing every single day. We have more people and they are not just white. They are all across the board. And I just want to tell you something else. Statistically in Lawrence, we are majority white. And so the fact that your husband was the only Black person in the room, Shannon, had nothing to do with the makeup of the people that oppose masks. That's just pure statistics. Your statements largely centered on the audience's white rage, something that you said you anticipated the day before because you told your husband to stay home. So to me, that's a little bit of a bias. Your perception of the hearing wasn't that of a representative hearing her constituents. You had this bias because the testimony that we gave was not about race or about entitlement. It was because we love our children. We care about our children. We're parents, we're grandparents. That's why we're here. It has nothing to do with race or your husband. You also said that our arguments were steeped in misinformation and individualism. Two things, the testimonies given were steeped in science as they are tonight with study after study presented, not misinformation. Masks don't work, children aren't at risk, COVID is treatable. My question for you is, where is your science that proves that children are at a greater risk of hospitalization or illness from taking their masks off? Or that the risk of suffering from severe symptoms outweighs that of the harms that come from wearing a mask, mental health, developmental health, due to not seeing faces, and individualism. Protecting individual rights is not the same thing as individualism, Shannon Portillo. Individualism is running over a person in front of you when the building is on fire. When a product such as a vaccine or a mask is required to put on my body or my child's body, that is not about individualism. That is my liberty. while there are community rights that take precedence over individual rights, there are also times when individual rights trump community rights. Our rights often require us to do work in the name of the community.
Thank you.
Hitler
We're
would
going
agree.
to move on to Juliana Negret. Juliana Negret.
Is it on? Okay. My name is Juliana Negrete, and I specifically work with children here in Lawrence. And it is, it's very sad to see little kids wear masks. And how are they supposed to learn when, you know, they see their classmates, half of their faces covered? How are they supposed to learn when they can't even read their teachers' facial expressions? By hiding the teacher's lips and muffling their speech, masks wearing makes it harder for young children to develop linguistic skills and prevents children with hearing impairments from lip reading. Unable to rely on facial cues, teachers and students of all ages are more likely to misinterpret one another, and which is something big for children on the autism spectrum. How are children supposed to develop social skills when they can't see one another's faces? Adult fear-mongering has probably fooled most children into believing that school closures, social distancing, and masks are necessary precautions. Social distancing and masks hinder learning while harming children emotionally, socially, and physically, all for no purpose other than providing false comfort to adults who ought to know better. Thank you.
Sam, Wynn. Sam, would you like to make public comment? Sam? Yes. After Sam, we're going to go to Nicole and then Soren.
Hello, everyone. Want to say hi to y'all. The reason why I'm up there, no, okay, sorry about that. 6 feet? Just kidding. So normally I don't do public speaking. I'm more of a one-on-one type of person, but I felt compelled to come up here. I have an 8-year-old daughter, my baby girl. Her name is Josie Rosemary Wynn. She goes to school here in Lawrence. Last year, when we were under the impression that masks actually did anything helpful, my baby girl passed out in the middle of school, like in the middle of class, literally, she passed out. The doctor said that it was a lack of oxygen in her brain, which got me thinking, a developing brain must need oxygen to develop correctly. And so they're limiting the oxygen. So we're gonna have a bunch of kids with neurological problems and doing all that stuff, if they don't have a bunch of oxygen. What I wanna say is, this isn't even about the mask. So I don't even know why we're fooling ourselves. We know there's big money that's coming in. We know that only slaves wear masks, and we know that y'all are slaves. We know there's Schwab. We know there's Soros. We know there's big type of money that's sending money to these local small governments to control us. I read Orwell's book, Animal Farm. I know how this works. So basically, y'all are sheeps. Y'all take orders. Y'all follow directions, and that's what y'all are good at. I applaud y'all for that. So now I'm going to give y'all order and a direction. Since all this mask stuff is about having the kids keep masks on so y'all can roll out the vaccination, which isn't even a vaccination. It's a gene editing tool. And so then you're going to tell the kids, if you want to not wear a mask, then you have to get this shot. It's a death shot. It's a depopulation shot. And y'all probably already have it already. So y'all probably condemned. So I apologize about that. So I'm going to use this time, and I'm going to let all the parents out there at home know that there's exemptions and there's other things that you can do, exceptions and exemptions. So I'm going to submit these 2 exemptions for my daughter, Josie Rosemary Wynn, that goes to school here in Lawrence, Kansas. That way y'all can say y'all been served. Thank you. you have a
Nicole?
ballot here? Or do I hand this to you, or is that the ballot or what? Okay.
If you. If you'd like to speak in public comment, please come sign your name up if you haven't already signed up.
Okay, hi, my name's Nicole Vanacola. I live in Eudora, Kansas. I'm a Douglas County resident. And I'm coming up here tonight very differently than I did last time I was here. I don't have a speech prepared like I almost always do. Kind of like Rachel had said, we're getting a little tired of being up here, but I come up here to, on my own, I'm not here representing anybody else tonight. And I have two things that God has called me to say tonight. And one of them is, despite how I behaved last time, I am a Christian and I was not a good representative of that last time. And I wanted to apologize for my behavior, especially to you, Shannon, or to you. And that said, my stances still stand for my kids, for everybody else's kids. I have no intention of masking my children. And that is because God has given me the authority to raise my children as I have seen fit, as He has called me to do. And He's also called me because He is my higher power to behave in a certain way. And I didn't do that last time. And again, I apologize for that. But I am supposed to submit to Him, to the higher power that is my God. And we all have a higher power, whether that is, if you claim a God or not. It might be a boss. It might be, if you have a public position, the people. And we are responsible for representing who we are representing. And so I am trying to apologize for my poor representation last time. And I'm hoping that you guys will see that you have a representation here in your community that comes out, even though, yes, we would all have things we would rather do instead. But we're here because this is an important issue to all of us. And we want to do what we feel best for our kids. And that's all that we really are asking to do. If there's a parent out there that really feels that masking their child is important, then let them. If that's what they feel, we agree, we think differently, and just let us do that differently with our kids. And that is what we are only asking to do. What we've always been able to do is raise our children the way that we have seen fit, that is good and healthy for them. So that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Soren?
Hi, I'm Soren Vanacola, and I live with Mom. And as she said, I have no speech planned. I don't have anything to plan to say except, Counselor Kelly, how do you, Commissioner, dang it. Have you asked your kids how they feel about the masking? Have you? Ask them. And in the Kansas Amendment Amendment 14 of the Kansas Constitution, it says that basically we can do what we want with our body, and medical is included. So masks is kind of, well, so kind of breaking the amendment by doing this.
Nathan? After Nathan, we'll go to Kenzie and then Jason. If there's anyone else beyond that who'd like to make public comment here in the courthouse today, please come sign up. Then we'll move on to folks who are joining us online via Zoom. So please use the raise your hand function on Zoom.
Al Fauci.
Kyle Fauci. I just wanted to come here and thank you again for wasting my time tonight by accepting these public comments, which you're just going to completely disregard again. You think you're our mommies and our daddies, or you're want to be my kids' mommy and daddy. Well, you're not. I'm going to continue to not comply, and you guys are all a bunch of psychopaths.
Geez, hi, my name's Kinsey. I live in Douglas County. I had a whole list of things I wanted to say, but you know what? I'm actually really angry. I was told by my grandparents who raised me, because you obviously don't know anything about me, you don't know my race, you don't know my color, but I was adopted. They told me that you can't use swear words because you can get your point across better if you don't. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. I wanted to bring up the social media post, although I think it's been covered already. I want to make sure that I don't use certain words, because when we do that, we lay a foundation of assumptions. And although you don't know anybody in this room, most of the people in this room don't have the same race in their family. And I am aware that Shannon Reed made a comment about when people are afraid, we start acting like this. But I want to make sure that it's very clear, we aren't afraid at all. We are compassionate individuals here fighting for all races, all genders, all people. We are actually fighting for the grandchildren that you probably won't ever have. I realize that this isn't an open conversation, but I like to just, for the ones that are making the decision for all of us, I want you to think on this, because I'm really having a hard time trying to figure out how you're making these decisions. Either you really don't know the science, you haven't looked it up, and you are genuinely afraid, which I know people that are, and I'm sorry if that's where you're at, or you are paid and you're bought for, and you're making these choices not based on what's right. I mean, I really don't understand it. We are a small community. We voted you in. And it's really, really hard for me to understand that you're making these choices knowing what's coming. I mean, our world is coming to a point of a huge catastrophe, and you're not doing anything to change it. I mean, there will come a point where you will need us. You'll need all these people in the room. And unlike you will probably close your door to us, but we will open the door. We'll let you in. We will help you. We will stop your children from suffering if you do the right thing. I am just I'm shaking. I'm so frustrated. I want you to be very aware that we aren't uneducated people. We're very passionate people, and we're just trying to help you see the right way, do the right thing. You have to stand for what's right. We elected you. We chose you to do the right thing. And right now, you aren't doing the right thing. These are acts of treason, crimes against humanity. And when the time comes, you will be held accountable if you don't do the right thing.
Jason? Jason?
My name is Jason Wyrick. I live in Eudora, Kansas. I'm not here as as a Trump supporter or a Biden supporter. I'm here for freedom. I represent many people that are not standing here right now, because I assure you there are a lot more people than are here today who believe what we believe, and we will not stop fighting for what we believe in. We will bleed for what we stand for. And I assure you that, if that's what it takes. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Not justice for those that are governed, but justice for those that govern as well. And I assure you this, when I read here in number 9, the mask mandate also fulfills the stated purpose, because youth age 2 to 11 wearing masks indoors in public settings will protect the health of those children while they await vaccinations. You have to be honest with yourself, and you know that myocarditis, whatever it's called. I'm sorry, I'm shaking right now. Myocarditis is a real thing. Death is a real thing from these vaccines. And if it affects one child, that's too many. And you guys know that. We come in peace. We love you guys. We're human, mankind. We love. We don't want our children to be harmed. Please, please. The decision has not been made yet. You guys still have a chance to decide. It's not over. It's written in here, but you guys have a heart, and please just keep that in mind. We love you guys, okay? I'm done.
That was everyone who signed up for public comment in the courthouse. We'll move on to public comment to those who are joining us on Zoom. Again, if you'd like to make public comment, please use the raise your hand function on Zoom. And Jill, I will turn it over to you to move folks over.
Julie, you've been moved into the panel. You can unmute yourself and submit your public comment. Julie?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners, Dr. Marcelino, Dr. Scrimshire, and Dr. Scrimshire's cat. My name is Julie Fugit, and I live in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm also the parent of a child too young to be vaccinated. I'm doing everything in my power to protect her long-term health, and having her wear a mask is part of that. She understands why she needs to wear it and why it works. Masks are not child abuse, but getting screamed at by anti-mask protesters in the school drop-off line certainly is. I'm speaking tonight to encourage the extension of the emergency health order until December 22nd, 2021. We know masks work. You don't need to look any farther than the school districts and counties without mask mandates for children to understand that masks are an essential part of keeping our kids healthy and in school. Schools in Douglas County have not had to shut down entire schools due to outbreaks, which is something districts without mask mandates can claim. After the March 2020 COVID outbreak on the USS Theodore Roosevelt, a study published in the journal Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report found that people who wore masks experienced a 70% lower risk of testing positive for SARS-CoV-2 infection. As congregate settings go, an aircraft carrier is a much more difficult place to socially distance than an elementary or middle school. We can extrapolate that masks in school will continue to reduce the likelihood of our kids getting sick. Viewing the 14-day rolling average in the context of our influent wastewater study testing data, it is clear we have a much higher case count than our testing indicates. Unfortunately, our percentage of vaccinated residents has also leveled off. We must continue to protect the members of our community who are still not able to be vaccinated. Finally, I want to express my gratitude for issuing the original emergency health order back on August 19th. I watched the public comments on Zoom and appreciated your restraint and dedication to following the science in the face of angry people hurling disinformation, verbal abuse, and veiled threats. I realize I am asking you to endure more of that by extending the emergency health order. And I thank you for your continued leadership as we navigate dealing with the Delta variant while keeping our kids safe and in school. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dick. You can unmute and submit your public comment.
Hi, my name is Dick Powers. I'm a public school teacher in Eudora, Kansas, and I wish to express my continued support for what you guys have done. You guys have made the right decision, and the masks in schools are very important to keep the kids safe. You know, my goodness, if masks didn't work, we would have a whole lot more dead people coming out of the hospitals. Doctors will be dying, nurses will be dying. Masks work. My brother-in-law is an ER doctor, and he can't he can't say it again just how effective masks are. So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done. I'm sorry you've had to put up with a lot of abuse from people there tonight. The vast majority of people support you. I was at Dillon's today. I was out shopping. Everybody was wearing masks except for maybe a few people. So people are wanting to be safe. The kids are wearing masks. The only people who have trouble with masks are the parents. The kids don't have trouble with masks in the schools. I've never heard a kid complain at all about having to wear a mask. I hate wearing the mask. Believe me, I hate wearing the mask. And but that's the only way out of this. And thank goodness some of the people there did not fight in the Revolutionary War, because George Washington ordered the smallpox vaccine for all the soldiers there. And if the people there tonight fought the Revolutionary War, we'd still be under British rule. So thank you for everything you've done, and keep it going. I would like to see it further extended even to March, actually. But I know you're not going to probably not do that tonight, but I thank you for everything you've done.
Monica, you're going to be moved into the panel and you can unmute and offer your public comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Monica Childers, and I am a resident of Perry, Kansas. However, my daughter goes to school at Perry Lecompton Elementary, which is in Douglas County. I, for one, am one of the many people that appreciate everything that you guys are willing to do to protect our children. Our children don't have a voice in this. Children under 12 cannot get the vaccine and be protected yet. Your job is to protect your community. And by enforcing masks for children under 12, that is what you are doing. My daughter has Down syndrome. She has a compromised immune system, and she is a very visual learner. Has this last year and a half been easy for her? Not at all, but it's necessary to keep her safe. While our numbers are still rising and not all of our children can get vaccinated, it's crazy to think, but the last year and a half, while we have been in the middle of a pandemic, has been her healthiest year so far. And the only thing that we have done differently is we are doing mask wearing, social distancing, and hand washing. I would rather my daughter wear a mask and struggle a little longer and be here on this earth with myself and her family. Protecting all children is my goal and should continue to be yours as well. I ask that you continue the emergency mask mandate and continue to do what you have to do to protect those that are not able to speak up for themselves. Thank you.
Dee, you're being moved into the panel. You can unmute and offer your public comment.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, I wasn't sure because it blanked out for a second. My name's Dee Steinbach. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person today. Had a few other responsibilities, but I did want to comment. I work in the public school as well. And again, I work with children 3 to 21. I work in many different buildings providing support services. And for the children that under the age of 12 that are wearing masks, if you actually walked in the building, you would notice that only half of them have it on at any given time. I've watched dozens of them with them laying them on the ground when they're out at recess, other kids stepping on them and they pick those up and put them back on their face. And I cannot believe that that would be healthier or safer for them than nothing at all. Again, I have read numerous studies on this. And again, I know that you are not going to listen to any of that. And I find it shameful. And frankly, the continued disbelief in looking at a bigger picture is frankly evil. And I pray that you will open your eyes before it's too late to really make a difference for our community. Thank you.
Gretchen, you're being moved into the panel. You can unmute and offer your public comment.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to throw out a number that I think has been completely disregarded, and that is the number 99.9973%. I'm going to say that again. 99.9973%. That is the infection survival rate for children birth through 18 years of age. This mask mandate is not warranted. You do not have data for it. I hope you will not continue it. I also have a question for Dr. Scrimshire that I'm going to keep asking.
Gretchen, you just muted yourself.
Sorry about that. I have a question for Dr. Scrimshire that I'm going to continue asking until I get the answer. How many hospitalized COVID inpatients are actually there because of COVID and only COVID, and not just there for other reasons such as having a baby and just test positive for COVID? That is data transparency that we need to know. If you say there are 18 COVID inpatients at the hospital today, I want to know how many of those are there because of COVID and only COVID. I think you're using those numbers to scare people. I also have a question for Dr. Scrimshire about how many patients that she puts on remdesivir when they go into the ICU then have renal failure. And I would like to know that percent. Please vote no on continuing this mandate. Thank you.
JG, you've been moved into the panel. You can offer your public comment after you unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. I just want to say thank you. Even though this is my right, I appreciate your time. I just have some questions. And number one, I would just like to know if masking children is to help limit the spread in the community. Why aren't we requiring masks for everyone, adults? And to continue that question, where is the evidence that children pose a higher risk of spreading coronavirus as opposed to adults, which can remain unmasked at this point? I'd like to know what studies you're using that said masking students and children in closed areas is effective. On a broader scale, where is the evidence that you're using that any mask mandates are effective? Also, what studies have been done and are you using for that study the efficacy and the safety of masks for children? And that if you do vote yes to continue this mandate, would you please share all of the data and science that you are using online where we can access it easily? I think one gentleman said he wasn't getting any answers by email, and that's why I've chose to use Zoom rather than email, because I figured that would happen. Also, the CDC recommends masks. It does not mandate or require them for children at this point. So that's all I have, and I appreciate your time. I'd just like you to think about those questions, and hopefully we can get some answers. Thank you.
Commissioners, I'm not seeing any more public comment.
Okay, thank you. We will bring this back to commissioners for discussion. I do just want to open up discussion by pointing out that we have seen our neighbors in Johnson County where there's a variety of mask usage in some of the schools. We've had multiple discussions with our public health officers and as part of these conversations about the research on masks and about the effectiveness of masks. And so I think we've also seen recently that communities that don't have masking policies have had to shut down schools and have had more clusters and outbreaks. We're seeing across the state that communities that lack mask mandates have seen outbreaks in schools. I do think that the age piece is something that we discussed the last time that we had this conversation as well. Vaccinations are available for folks over the age of 12. And so what we are doing with our public health orders is really trying to ensure that we can keep schools open and keep folks who don't have access to the vaccine yet safe while we're waiting for that access. I do just want to open this up to my fellow commissioners for any discussion.
This is Commissioner Reed here. I just want to, I want to note that I've been in communication with lots of people across the county from all communities, all school districts in the weeks since our last meeting and the days leading up to this. And there's obviously a varied opinions and feelings across our community. And I appreciate and understand that that makes this difficult. It makes it a difficult choice for us, a difficult position to be in, to try and weigh the health of the entire community and as many mitigation strategies as we can think of that are effective enough at keeping our numbers low. I just want to acknowledge that we are, I think all three of us commissioners individually are in communication with people throughout our districts and throughout the entire county on a regular basis and expect to continue to be so because this pandemic is continuing. It has impact on our community. It has impact on our health systems. And I trust our health officers and the evidence and the information that they have been paying attention to and sharing with us on a regular basis when they're bringing these recommendations to us. So I do believe that this mandate thus far has been an effective measure. I think it's necessary for the remainder of this school semester at this point, given the knowledge that if things change, if numbers change radically in our community, if vaccinations become eligible for, or younger children become eligible for vaccines, that families who wish to get that will move forward with doing that, that will change the information we're looking at, and that this conversation is an evolving one. Right now, given all of the information we have in front of us, it feels necessary to me to maintain this order in effect until the end of this school semester, unless information changes greatly between now and then.
So first of all, I want to recognize the type of conversation that we had this evening, the information that was provided, and the way we discussed what may be differences of opinion. I saw progress tonight from our last meeting. There are still things that were said that I'm disappointed were said, but I think this is a step forward for our community from the last meeting. We may not agree. I hear people saying that they believe their freedoms are being taken away. I understand that. I feel we have to balance that against the health and safety of our community. This has never been for me about the number of young people hospitalized or deaths. It's about keeping our schools open. I believe that there are long-term effects of students not being in school, effects that can last their entire lifetime. And while this is feels like the pandemic has been going on for a long, long time, I think them not being in school has a big impact. I think the internet and science have made decisions hard. I get a lot of communication from people that says if you just follow the science, and our health officers provide us science. Many members of the community provide conflicting science, and it becomes very difficult for us to determine what truth is. Ma'am, I'm not going to talk if you're going to shout. So I recognize that conflict in making decisions and in advocating for things that you believe, and I understand that that's hard. I do put a lot of trust and have a lot of gratitude for Dan for being here tonight, from our health department, for Dr. Marcelino, Dr. Scrimshire, for Brad Finkeldye for being here. I really do appreciate that, and I put a lot of weight in their recommendation, and I'm comfortable with that recommendation. But I understand that others don't feel the same way, and I respect that. But I feel like my job as an elected official is to weigh the differences of opinion that I hear and make a decision.
If there's no further discussion, I'm happy to make a motion, although I do want to clarify that December 22nd is the date that I think we should move forward with.
Same.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just want to make sure that the community knows and our health officers knows at any time they can come back to us if they feel that this order needs to be rescinded. And I invite them to do that.
Commissioner Reed, I move to approve a county resolution extending an emergency order of the local health officer and Douglas County Commission effective 12:01 a.m. on September 23rd, 2021, and remain in force until 11:59 p.m. on December 22nd, unless otherwise rescinded or modified by the County Commission.
Second.
All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We will move on to appointments. Do we have any appointments to consider this evening?
I don't believe we do, Commissioners.
We will move on to miscellaneous. Sarah, what do you have for us in miscellaneous?
Commissioners, you have a memo in your packet. It includes a September interim legislative policy report. In addition to that, I do need to know if a member of the county commissioners want to serve as a voting delegate at the 2021 Kansas Association of Counties 46th Annual Conference in Overland Park on October 18th and 20th. That information is in your packet. You don't have to tell me today, but I do probably need to know within the next week or so. And then also, I want to let the commissioners know that earlier this week, City Manager Craig Owens and I completed an initial review of city-county agreements. The attached letter that's in the file outlines agreements that are now considered expired, superseded, resolved, no longer valid, or no longer in any force or effect. And just that this is a big first step for us in getting through that first round of agreements. And then we're going to continue to review ones that we believe are valid, but we just want to ensure that and complete that review. In addition to that, you have a schedule for work sessions coming up next week. We have a 4 o'clock work session on the climate action plan, and then we will cancel our October 6th meeting. And that's all I have for you, commissioners.
This is Commissioner Portillo. Thank you. I was really hoping to make it to that Kansas Counties Conference in mid-October, and I have not had luck in clearing my calendar for it. So I don't know if there's another commissioner who might be considering going.
And if commissioner is not able to, I can see if one of the other countywide elected officials or another countywide department head who is planning to attend could serve as our voting delegate. So you can just look at your schedules, but I do kind of need to know within the next week or so.
Thank you. I also do just want to say a huge thank you for putting together the letter about all of those agreements. I know that we've had a lot of conversations about agreements over the past year. There were conversations that we had quite often while campaigning last summer. And so I'm excited to see all of the progress that's being made and look forward to our continued work with the city to work through the agreements that we still have in place to make sure that those work out best for both of our communities. I don't have anything else.
I just wanted to bring up what Mr. Bonner brought forward about the Stoll haunted house. It is certainly unfortunate. I think I suppose there is some marketing value there, but I think it dishonors the people of the community of Stoll and the people who are buried at Stoll to name that haunted house the Stoll haunted house. I heard the passion in Mr. Ballmeyer's voice, and I think he's right on this. Sarah, do you want to sort of go over though a little bit of what our limitations of authority are here?
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. What I can say is that the business operates inside the city limits of Lawrence. There's no planning or land use type permit that the county that would come to the county for this particular use. In addition to that, we really don't have any control over what a business is named. And so I don't believe the city of Lawrence has that authority either. But I do know I have had conversations with Mr. Baumeier and other residents of the Lecompton and Clinton and Stoll area, and know members who work on that cemetery board and know the time and energy that they put into keeping that place respectful and peaceful for their family members that are gone. And I know the sheriff's office works to patrol that division area pretty closely just to make sure that it tries to stay as safe as possible.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that. And I think there are other communities within, and not just geographical communities, but also cultural communities that would also be ashamed if we named a haunted house after them. And so I just find this really upsetting. Mr. Bonnmeyer asked for us to make a proclamation. I'm not sure if we want to go that far, but it's something I'd like us to all advocate sort of on behalf of our historical resources. That cemeteries are a historical resource. They honor the past, and it's really unfortunate that that attraction has been named that. So I just wanted to share that.
Seeing nothing else, we are adjourned for this evening. Thank you.